how does somebody tell the difference between, their ego speaking to them and their true inner self speaking to them?
Well, and that's why it's experiential. It takes, a lot of time, and it takes a guide, someone who's been through it before you, has, just had more experience to point out to you when you're not in getting valid information, but are in fact just listening to your ego.
Are we going to reach a point where we catch up, like we've caught up and science is catching up now and saying, okay, well, your body is a printout of your thoughts. But there's been other ancient wisdom. You had Jesus walking around saying, hey, it's not me who's healing you. It's your belief that I heal you that heals you.
Absolutely.
Are we
That's
ever
a great example.
That?
That's a great example. Mm-hmm. That's where we're headed. We're trying to, we had that ability and we had that information. We misplaced it. This is evidently what in the human species does over time, is it learns something, then loses the information, forgets it, and then relearns it again later.
Even like these shamanic healers, you mentioned this, and folks, you're right. I'm getting a lot of feedback as Steve, you should have more about shamanism, and I don't think we've covered that in our almost 3 years, but and I don't know much about it other than what I've read. I've read like Don Quixote's books, and Don Miguel Ruiz wrote about he comes from shamanic lineage, and they are very energy-based, and it works.
It does, and it's shared by actually all the traditions, not just shamanic ones. So when I studied shamanic work, I was very amazed to find out it was at root identical to work that I had studied with esoteric Christians, which I found pretty interesting.
That is really.
And then I studied with John of God and found the same thing there, and so it's everywhere.
As you go in life, and I'm sure that people share some pretty horrific stories with you. We brought up Carl Jung, right? So is it all synchronistic? Is it all for a purpose? Everything
has a purpose. Everything is for a purpose, and that's a great way really to look at your own life. So when something unexpected happens, I just was working with someone at a public event a couple of days ago who thought they were, let's talk about the economy for a minute, they thought they were going to be getting loan modification. That's what their lender had led them to believe for the last 4 or 5 months, and then there was some last-minute switch, and they were turned down, and they felt devastated, and I helped them see that this actually might be the best thing that ever happened to them, because when I probed a little, because what I was feeling was that actually this individual was ready to move on, she acknowledged, you're right, maybe this is the best thing, because now I feel free to move. And she was holding on to this house, but really needed to let it go, and here the universe was, supplying that to her by getting her turned down. So everything has a reason, and the best thing to do is just go with the flow. Don't, fighting it doesn't do any good at all, but instead just, go with the flow of the universe. Just surrender to it. It's all good.
And it's speaking of truth. I mean, what Deborah just said, surrender to the will of the universe. Speaking of truth, that is the truth. I mean, we have this illusion that we are in control of anything in that sense, and you're just not. And I think that the greatest, going off of Timothy in Windsor, North Carolina writes, is truth the truest form of faith to God? And I think that it is, Deborah. I think that following your truth and releasing, if you say, to God is the greatest show of faith, but it's also a universal truth anyways.
That's right. That's actually a beautiful expression of it, too.
It's great to just let go, and when seeking your truth...
that's what they say at AA, let go and let God.
Let go and let God. I love it. And that's what you said they say at AA?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a 12-step saying.
We have only a couple minutes left. I can't believe how fast this hour went. Deborah, somebody sitting in their car, in their cubicle, someone sitting at home, someone who's been through the fire, or maybe they're going through it now. What can they do to help heal themselves?
The main thing they can do is, again, to just try to get in touch with just one element of what they think the fire is. Just grab that pen and spend 5 minutes, during your lunch hour, or 5 minutes, during dinner or before you go to bed, and write down a few words, just 5 minutes, of how you really feel about something. And then perhaps have a little ceremony of letting that go. You might throw that note in the trash, or maybe you burn it in the fireplace. Whatever works for you. Just let it go.
So it's like you have a little funeral for it before you have your rebirth.
Yep, absolutely.
Powerful stuff.
I used to picture the words, going up into the sky and up into a cloud and then out over the horizon and gone.
Oh, now you
just let it go.
Visualization. Deborah's got too much depth to her to cover for 1 hour. I would love to talk to Deborah about visualization. We'll have to have you back. Deborah, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show.
You asked such great questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and best of luck with this book, and I look forward to having you on again. Folks, we just had a great conversation with Deborah King. I wish we had longer, but we don't, and I promise you all we'll do our best to get her back. Deborah is an internationally best-selling author, health and wellness expert, attorney, national keynote speaker. By the looks of the feedback, you all loved her. And let me tell you, I don't think we even scratched the surface. I mean, she knows a lot of stuff. I'm really going to do my best to get her back. We were talking about her new book, Truth Heals, What You Hide Can Hurt You. Good news is you have this whole book you can read of hers. Check out the website, truthheals.com or DeborahKingCenter.com. If you're listening through our website, just click on her name and it'll take you there. She's got other products on there. She's got a great website with all kinds of cool stuff you can do. People like this, I love talking to people like this because they've been there. She's not hiding in the mountains somewhere, secluded from society. She's been there. She's got stories, and she participates in life. And there's something powerful about people who go through it, not only survive it. You got to applaud people who survive it, but survive it, put it together, and then help you through it. That's some powerful people. And folks, we got to support and celebrate these type of people. Deborah King, Truth Heals, What You Hide Can Hurt You. Make sure you check out truthheals.com or DeborahKingCenter.com. And if you missed any part of our interview with her later on our website, it'll be available. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back for the feedback portion of the show. You're listening to Empowered Living, Life, the Truth, and Being Free. I'm your host, Steve Maraboli.